There we go. So we are actually live right now. How exciting is that? We generally wait a little bit to let some people get into the program. Oh, I need to make sure my partner is on. Oh, he is down there. Wow, I haven't had so many people on here before. Hey, Ash. Hey,
Part of
Ash.
marketing.
Hey, Mike.
You had scrolled off my screen.
Oh, no worries. It's all right.
Ash, this is Iris and Cassie.
Hey, Iris. Hey, Cassie. How are you?
All right, how are you?
Hi.
Doing well. I'm trying to find what camera I'm using here.
Yeah, I got to make sure. Okay. I think I look pretty as well. Well, I think we can get this all started. Let me just make sure that we are actually live. And we have people. All right, I think we could probably wait a minute or two more while some people get in. We do record this, of course, and replay it up on YouTube and LinkedIn. Oh, you know what? I got to reset my watch.
Oh,
I'm a little bit ahead here. That's
you're living in the future.
I am. Oh wait, this is. Get rid of this. That helps. What's going on? Why did that doesn't look good? Why can't this? Oh, I went live on my PowerPoint. That's why it looks terrible.
Gotta love technology.
When you know what you're doing.
Very true.
That helps.
That's what I wanted. All right. Let's kick this thing off. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday. Oh my gosh. It is not October 29th. It is November 5th.
He's living in the past now.
But let me tell you, if I knew today, back on October 29th, I probably would have made a few purchases in the stock market and maybe some cryptocurrencies or something.
Absolutely.
And I probably would have bet on the Atlanta Braves to win the World Series.
The things we wish we would have known.
Right. Well, it's kind of a funny thing that we're talking about the past, because this discussion today is a little bit about who is living in the past. And we could make an argument that it's our industry living in the past. But before we do that, let's go over to Ashley Buckholt. And Ash is going to talk a little bit about what he saw in the market this week. So,
hey, Mike. Yeah, all right. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, you're all good.
Right on. So the market update, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, the CME, which is the mercantile lumber price, fell enormously, hundreds of dollars. And cash was adjusting until Wednesday. The Canadians came out with an announcement. We're still digging through that about how there's going to be less allowable cut. So every long side of the trade, the supply side, long futures trader, long cash people jumped onto this, went out, scared the market, told everybody about all kinds of stuff, and every mill was going to close. The reality of that is, I think as we let this sink in and figure out how much was already baked into the cake, it will pull back a little bit and people will kind of have a little bit more sanity. So we saw a little bit of buying in the cash market. Some items were a little bit slower and flat. OSB plywood was slow and flat. And the Southern Yellow Pine market, 2x6 was starting to come off. 2x4 is still strong because of the component side of the market. But overall, I think things are starting to settle out a little bit here on a Friday. We'll see what happens going into next week. Platform this week on MaterialsXchange, great week. We had over 500 items listed yesterday, about 30 trades. So we're starting to scale, and I'll kick it over back to you guys so you, Cassie, and Iris can have a good conversation.
All right, Ash, thanks for the update. And we look forward to your shows next week. Monday, you with Charles De La Torre. Wednesday with Greg Riley and Matt Beamer. Do you have a guest coming in this week with Greg and Matt?
We're trying to line a few up. It's been a little tough going into this last few weeks, but we'll see if we can get one.
All right, perfect. And then, of course, Matt Lehman on Thursday.
You bet.
All right, take care, Ash.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so back to the topic at hand, and we have with us Iris, and I would say Montague, but it's probably wrong.
Montague.
Montague and Cassie Stout with us, and these two ladies, I'm going to tell you why they're here, and it's because I saw an article on HBS Dealer. Pull it up here. This is why. I saw how millennials view the lumber industry. And I was like, oh, that looks like a cool article to read. So I checked out the article, and then I was like, that is a great article to read. And what I figured out, it is just a small snippet from a much bigger study or paper that the two worked together on. So what we're going to talk about right now is just a little bit of what's going on and how do millennials view the lumber industry. So without further ado, welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'll cue this whole conversation up with something I said yesterday in our pre-call meeting that made the two of you ladies laugh. Our industry tends to be a little bit pale, stale, and male. And you'd find a hard time arguing that. So why is that? What's going on? Iris, let's start out with you. What do you see what's going on with this pale, male, stale industry?
Well, the research showed us that there are a lot of perceptions about the industry that may not necessarily be true. So we wanted to figure out what exactly the younger generation that was coming into the industry, because the younger generation, the millennial generation, is actually one of the most influential and powerful generations that are coming into the workforce.
For
Um,
sure.
Financially, they now hold the power. So we wanted to find out how they felt about an industry that sometimes gets a bad rap. And the research showed that it's mostly not positive.
Now,
They do not have good views of the industry and the industry's practices.
so
They
let's flip to Cassie for just a second, because you're pretty new to the industry. I think we
Yeah.
could call you a hardcore millennial. Um,
I'm on the younger side of the millennial scale, but yeah, I definitely am.
that's like a super millennial maybe. But now you actually grew up in the industry, but you still had a perception, right? Coming in, what was your
Yeah.
perception?
Yeah. So, my dad is in the industry. And so it was always something in the background that I was aware of, but not something that I paid much attention to, because, there were other things that caught my eye. And it wasn't until I was in high school and in undergrad that I began to have more of an awareness of the industry. And, that led me to go to Mississippi State and conduct my research with Dr. Iris and a few other professors. So, um, definitely from my point of view, seeing the results in from our research and from the study, it definitely correlates with some of the things that I thought and some of my friends thought. The industry being, you picture, a lumberjack, someone wearing plaid and has an axe and goes out in the woods, that type of thing. Or it's not glamorous and it's not something that you can make a lot of money in, things like that. Those perceptions definitely were within the wheelhouse I was operating in before joining and having a better understanding of the industry moving
Now I'm
forward.
gonna
So
just take a bit of a counterpoint. We're making this argument, yet I look at the two of you, and you don't look like what the problem is. So how did each of you get into the industry?
Iris,
well,
you want to go?
yeah, I'll start. Mine was completely accidental. My high school year, I have always loved science, so I knew I was going to do something science related. My In high school, my senior year in high school, I was getting applications because of the science programs I had been involved in, and I got one from the USDA, which is the USDA 1890 Scholars Program. And this program is for minorities at 1890 land grant institutions to work in the USDA. They give
Okay.
you tuition, room and board, computer, and then you go intern every summer, and then you're guaranteed. It used to be you're guaranteed a job at the end of your college career. And so when I went to Alabama A&M. When I got there, I was going to do animal science because I loved animals. And the U.S. Forest Service actually picked me up. They were my sponsor for the 1890s program. They called
Okay.
me and they said, "How would you like to work for the U.S. Forest Service?" And they told me all the benefits of working, and of course, free tuition, room and board, books. You're gonna be like, "Yeah." Hung up the phone. My mom was like, "Who was that?" I was like, "Some guy with the Forest Service." Had no idea about the Forest Service, no idea what it would involve. But when I got to college, I switched my major to forestry, have loved it, enjoyed it, and have been there ever since.
But had those events not happened, there's not a chance you would end up where you're at.
No, I would have been a chemical engineer or something to do with chemistry or something other science related field.
Right.
Now
So,
that I've gotten older, I've realized maybe a medical field. I like gross stuff, but no, I would not have been a forester.
it took a lot of effort to get you here. You did not come running into the room going, "I want to be a forester,"
No. And if
obviously.
I had have known then what I know now, if I had have gotten that hindsight is 2020, it may have been a little bit scary. And I think that's what probably keeps a lot of diverse individuals from forestry
Of
because
course.
it doesn't look like them.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Cassie, how about yourself? You alluded to you you may be a legacy that you have your father in the industry, but
Yeah.
how'd you get in?
Yeah. So, I went to undergrad and I got my degrees in marketing communications and English. And I had intended actually to go into an MBA program after graduating from undergrad. It was kind of one of those serendipitous circumstances that my dad ended up meeting Dr. Ruben Schmolsky, who is the head of the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts at Mississippi State. And they spoke, and it came out that I was looking for a graduate school opportunity, and Ruben had one. And so we connected, and it honestly was kind of a serendipitous moment. And in talking with Dr. Ruben, it came out that they were looking for some different and new research projects. And I had actually, up to that point, been thinking about and very cognizant of the fact that the lumber industry was having some issues with recruiting and retaining younger generations. And I had always had a slight interest in it. It just kind of had always been in my mind. And so, in talking with Dr. Rubin, things just meshed really well. And the opportunity that he provided for me to do this research I was really interested in, beyond, taking other courses at the same time at Mississippi State, was something I couldn't pass up. And so I said yes. I moved down to Mississippi from New York. It was a big change, but those
Really?
2 years, I was exposed to a lot of different things in the industry, and here I am now working for Timber Products. So it kind of was similar to Iris. It's you have to take those chances when they come to you and see where they go.
All right. So I can paraphrase by saying the two of you didn't pick the industry. The industry basically picked you.
Yeah.
And it bribed you in with free money and lots of opportunities. So which is cool. I mean, I guess we're trying a little bit. So why is it bad that there is not diversity in the forestry industry? So, I mean, we wouldn't be here talking about it if there wasn't an issue. What makes that bad? And what did your research figure out?
Well, I'll start. Like I said, the research shows that when you have diverse individuals in various careers, jobs, industries, you have diverse thought, and
Mhm.
diverse thought helps you be innovative. And if you don't have that, you don't have that innovation. You don't have those different ideas. Everybody comes from different places. Um, Cassie and I are both females, but we have different perspectives based on race, based on age, based on location. And those perspectives help grow the industry. But if you don't have that, then you're kind of stuck with doing things the way that you have always done them.
That makes sense. What do you think, Cassie?
Yeah, I mean, I think Iris put it rather perfectly there that, you need to have different people from different backgrounds in order to really enable your business, your research, your, whatever you want to call it within the industry to flourish and to actually evolve beyond a certain point. So having that innovative thought, having those differences of opinion is something that is really important and that needs to be celebrated and encouraged throughout the industry.
So you know what? Something that just came to my mind is forestry. The products that come out of the trees does not discriminate. I mean, male, female, any color. A two by
Mhm.
four that makes a house, anyone lives in it. The two by four doesn't care.
No.
Paper, whoever writes on it, they don't care. So it makes total sense for the industry to really flourish and maybe find a place and move forward like it hadn't before. Diversity would help that.
Mhm.
So and I get the problem. We've laid that out. So let's talk about what is the solution to bring more of the two of you into the industry. What's the solution here? How do we get there?
Iris, you
Iris,
want to
go ahead.
go?
um, so one of the things that we discovered in our research is that people just don't know about the industry. They've heard of
Mhm.
it, but they have no idea what all it involves. I still have family members who ask me what I do, and the first thought that comes to mind is I am a park ranger or, something like that. And they don't realize how diverse a career you could have in the industry. We have people who do finance that look at investment models for REITs, for timberland. We have economists. We have lawyers who go over contracts. There are so many things that you can do in the industry that people are not aware of. And when you see the perception of the industry, like Cassie said, people think lumberjacks. So, if you had a kid who wants to go to school and they say, uh, what do you want to be? You don't hear forestry. They don't even know what that is. They hear lawyers, doctors, engineers, teachers, things like those fields. And I think that one of the things that people have made, or one of the things that people have made comments about in the research, is they would like the industry to market those potential and market what they do for the environment more than what they're doing now. So I think it's just a lack of knowledge of the industry and what all the industry does and how important it is to the economy and to the US.
This morning, of course, because I was talking with the two of you and browsing, there was an ad on my phone for Purdue University talking about using drones to survey land. So you can add to the potential jobs in the forestry industry as a drone pilot, which you
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought of that before. All right, so I'm hearing a little messaging and marketing in what you're saying, Iris. Cassie, what do you say? What's the solution here?
Yeah, I definitely agree that improved marketing methods, communication methods overall, both internal and external, whether you're talking about internally in a company or externally to the public, definitely needs to be enhanced and improved. Even also education. So we're talking about different curriculum in the classroom, starting from elementary school to middle school to high school. I think the earlier you talk to students and you talk to young people, the better because they've been exposed to it longer. And so, really having more of an emphasis on trying to communicate in terms that students will understand and having that control over our own narrative, not letting other people do that for us is something very important. I think we've seen in past cases where, external voices will voice an opinion towards our industry that's not true. And then that catches like wildfire. And then suddenly everyone is, believing in something that's false. So having that important strength and having that important control and using our own voice and in spreading our own message to educate the public, is something very important to help, progress and to have some sort of solution as we move forward as an industry.
So I hear a lot about us, our industry. Who's gonna do this message? Like, from a 100,000 foot view, everything you're saying makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But let's bring it down to kind of the brass tacks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we get the message out there? And who needs to do it?
Everyone. Simple is that everyone needs to have a part in it. Word of mouth is a very powerful tool, but I definitely see, also, our trade associations, there's a number of them out there that some of them have different programs they use to, interact with the public and to have some awareness campaigns. But companies themselves, especially the large companies that hold a lot of market share, I believe truly also need to strengthen their voice. They are the ones who have the biggest teeth in the fight. And I think them having or developing programs that can help to spread awareness and to clear up some of these misperceptions would be a very powerful tool in their toolbox, honestly. And it
Now, we talked about this yesterday. These big
yeah.
companies,
Yep.
maybe they don't realize the importance of it. And I think what we talked about, your company there, your experience so far, like, how are you making an impact? So, let's say all the big 10 lumber producers or forest products companies say, why should we do this? Everything's working great. Have you seen our profits lately?
Mhm.
Now, you've had a
Yeah.
great experience with timber products. What
Mhm.
what goes on there that you can relate to these other companies, these big companies, to say, do it because of this?
Yeah. So I really have had a very good experience from the day that I started working at Timber. And really, a lot of that has to do with internal communication, accessibility, transparency. So, beyond working directly with my supervisor or some of my other colleagues, we actually have something where once a quarter we will sit down with our CEO, COO, and CFO, and we call it lunch with leaders. And so they actually take their time to sit down with us who are kind of on the lower end of the totem pole, if you will, marketing associates, sales reps that are just beginning or starting out, and really having those conversations that we can ask them anything. And I think that's really important for companies to have that and allow that accessibility between the different levels and not just making it so that, I only interact with people who are on my level. I don't have associations or speak with our CEO on the regular. So having that ability to have two-way conversations, not just one way, that accessibility, and also having the ability to support and encourage your employees to flourish and to go and chase those other opportunities that perhaps no one else has before, because that could be another thing that translates to a new innovative thought.
So,
So
what you're saying is
yeah.
perfect. And I think what you didn't highlight, and this is easier for me to see, is
Mhm.
when you have that communication, right?
Mhm.
If you're talking to someone who doesn't have the same experience in life as you do,
Mhm.
i.e., someone a if you're pale, male, and stale, and you look down and you're seeing someone who is young, female, and comes from a diverse background, they're going to bring back to you something different.
Yes,
We've experienced it
that's
at Materials Exchange. We've made fundamental changes in some of our business processes because we learned from the younger generation that
mhm.
this is kind of the way things are done now, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's being
this
willing to
show is
listen.
this show is an example. We thought we
Mhm.
were all innovative when we started the smart market doing a Zoom call, and we quickly found out just do a live stream. And I'm like, a live stream? I go fishing in a stream. What are you talking about? And, I learned. So what you're sitting there talking about this communication and transparency, and that's ultra important. But if there's communication and transparency between two individuals who look just like each other, all you're doing is talking into the mirror.
I know. Yeah. And that brings up the fine. I think the key point is you need to be willing to listen. You need to be willing to say, they come from a different perspective and you recognize that, but being willing to listen and actually, consider their point of view is a very important part of it. If you're not willing to listen, then, you're not going to grow as a person. You're not going to grow as a business. So.
And
Right.
you, and
So
you, you
Iris,
I was
oh,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say, you definitely, before we even get to the part of communication, we need to get people in the door. We need some recruitment. We
Yeah.
need some outreach.
That's
We
where I
need to
was going. Yeah.
we need to start early. The Forest Service does a really good job of outreach. They want their employees to reach out to local schools and the community to get them aware of what we do as an agency. And that's beneficial. When my oldest daughters were younger, I constantly went to the school and did environmental education programs. And so I would love to see those type of curriculums offered in the school. They offer English language, math, and they do science, but they don't do a lot of environmental. They may have one study plan about the environment, but they don't do a lot of environmental studies. I would love to see that on a regular basis because, like we've talked science, the science shows that the younger you get people involved in natural resources and forestry, the more likely that's going to resonate with them and it's going to stick with them for the rest of their lives. So we need to do the recruitment, the outreach. Colleges need to recruit more and do more recruitment as far as getting people in the industry and understanding what it is that we do.
And what's really cool, we talked about it yesterday, is it's never been easier for outreach given the social media platforms we have today, like this LinkedIn live or this live stream.
Yes.
What's going on with social media at the U.S. Forest Service?
Well, the U.S. Forest Service is good about social media. Of course, we have social media and communications teams that do that. And it's funny because you talk about social media, and that's another part of research that I do with a colleague at West Virginia University and another colleague at the Forest Service, where we look at how social media can be used to market forest products in the forest industry. And a lot of people say, I just never thought of using social media for that. And it is a great avenue for getting your word out and for people discovering who you are and what you're doing.
So one of the other things we talked about yesterday, getting ready for this call, we can get the message out and we can say how, wonderful our industry is and environmental it is, and think that people are going to come in altruistically. But the reality is it comes down to dollars and cents. Like, I think we need to be less, it's not ashamed. We just need to talk about, you can make money in this industry and you can have a great life. Like there's other ways to bring people in. Actually, Iris, you came in the door because of money, because they were going to throw some stuff at you. But the reality is there's great jobs, there's great occupations and great careers in the industry that you'll be satisfied with, not just with your work, but with your compensation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, we can wrap it up here. I wrote down, be proud and be heard. And that's kind of what, Cassie had said yesterday. Look, I'm proud to be from this industry. I know the two of you are. You're putting out articles. Congratulations on them, by the way.
Thank you.
What needs to happen is the entire industry to get on board, and the powerful people in the industry.
Yes.
It drives me nuts when you go to conventions and the topic is labor. We're having a problem with labor. Okay, what are you doing about it? And then you hear crickets. So it's time to be loud, be proud, be heard, get the message out.
Yes.
Thank you for the two of you for doing that, number one. But the message I got was through an industry publication. somehow we got to get this into mainstream, right?
Yes.
So let's wrap this up with my favorite question at the end of every show, and that is, you know, what what does Iris see? What does Cassie see coming down the pipe? Something, new and different that other people think you might be a little bit crazy for thinking that, or people think differently. Um, what's tumbling around in your heads that you look to see coming in the next, 5, 10 years or 5, 10 months? Open forum. You can go with whatever you want. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. I think it's something that I've been seeing a lot more on national news, and I think you two also might have seen something about it. But I'm not sure it'll happen within the next decade. But who knows with how technology progresses? But I think AI, artificial intelligence, is something that we need to watch for not only digital communications, but even how it affects manufacturing. Because that, like I said, it may not affect the U.S. right away, but you might probably start seeing it in Europe and also Asia for how AI is going to influence manufacturing and how we do processes that way, but then also how we communicate internally, externally, in how things are progressing in this country. So
That's really, and AI is not coming out of the thought leaders in our industry. So somehow we will have to recruit and retain, bring that type of developer or that technology
mhm,
from outside.
yeah.
Iris, what about you?
So we discussed yesterday. My little crystal ball is a little cloudy, not quite sure if it's working properly. But if I had to say what I would hope for the industry, um, like Cassie said, there are so many different technologies that will be coming into play in the future, and I
Mhm,
hope that we as an industry really realize how important diverse thought, diverse people are for the industry. We work on our recruitment, and it's just not the forest products industry as in the private industry. It's with government, it's with colleges, it's with everybody who has a hand in this industry. Needs to help with this. How do we get people in those jobs? How do we keep people in those jobs once they get there? Because that's going to be important. There are a lot of people who are retiring who have skill sets that are not being filled behind. So, what do we do when we lose this important knowledge and these important skills? So, I'm hoping in my crystal ball, I'm hoping to see more diversity, more inclusion, more recruitment, so we can get these people in the door and really start working on how to make sure that we stay competitive in the global environment.
Agreed, 100%. Thank you so much. I got to tell you, this is probably one of my most favorite shows we've done. I think it's such an important topic. We're just scratching the surface. Um, to solve it, we need help. We as the industry, we need help from each other. We need the resources from the big players. But we may be a little snowball right now. When this thing gets rolling down the hill, it's going to make a massive impact.
mhm.
So thank you, ladies, for coming on board. I really appreciate it. Keep doing the good work that you're doing. We
Thank
we
you.
as the industry appreciate it, and I give you the courage, or encourage you to stay courageous to call out some of the maybe untruths, or
Mm,
that's the way we've always done it. So
yeah.
keep being a voice. Thank you very much. So
Thank
with
Thank
you for
that,
you.
having us.
yeah, with that, we're going to sign off. We'll see you next week. I don't know who we have on for next week, but we have some great guests coming up. I know that for sure. So with that, we're going to sign off. Everyone have a great, safe weekend, and let's get the message out there.